Well, hello and welcome to this first video in the new Discovery Days series, and I greet you from here in sunny Spain at the resort of La Pineda, just in front of our hotel on this magnificent beach. Now, as I've described in the bulletins, this isn't going to be a full-on production, and this is not the idea of these Discovery Days. Now, let me say at the beginning, I speak no Spanish at all, apart from hola and gracias, and I apologize to all my Latin viewers for coming to your country and doing a video about the region and not being able to speak a word of your language. So I apologize for that. So with the aid of Google Translate, let me at least say hola and bienvenida, so that you'll be able to make sense of the story I give you in Tarragona. Let me give you a brief outline on Spain's history. And I don't profess to be an expert on Spanish history, so again, forgive me. What I've been able to glean is the usual online resources. But at least I could be able to give you some sort of background. Spain and Portugal form what is known as the Iberian Peninsula, and it was the home of some of the earliest human civilizations, stretching back as far as 800,000 years. The Mediterranean basin has seen many civilizations and empires rise and fall over many thousands of years. One of the earliest civilizations to occupy Spain were the Phoenicians, modern-day Israel and Palestine. Another was the Greeks. Both of those civilizations were pushed out by the arrival of the Romans over a period of 200 years, starting in 218 BC. You will see many Roman relics all around Spain, and especially here in Tarragona. Just as they did in Britain 2,000 years ago, the Romans changed the way of life here and the region. Ordinary Romans began embracing Christianity almost immediately, as it offered them a hope in a world of suppression for them. It was officially adopted as the religion of the Roman Empire in 313 AD. However, it's thought that St. Paul was preaching around the Iberian Peninsula from 62 AD onwards. When the Roman Empire collapsed, two Germanic nations occupied Spain, one group called the Vandals and the other called the Visigoths. They were both forced out in the early 700s by an invading Muslim civilization called the Umayyad. They occupied the Iberian Peninsula for around 200 years, and then the Christian reconquest began in the 900s. During the 11 and 1200s, the peninsula was divided into four Christian kingdoms, and they were Portugal, Castile-Leon, Navarre, and Aragon, Catalonia. It's the latter of those kingdoms that Tarragona finds itself in. From the mid-1400s, Spain grew and built an empire of its own, discovering and claiming large parts of South America. Like all empires, Spain's empire diminished too, and by 1812 was once again invaded, but this time by Napoleon. In the last 250 years, Spain has gone through countless political changes, rebellions, civil wars and uprisings. The most recent was in 2017, when this region of Catalonia declared itself a separate nation to Spain. The 17 regions of Spain have a similar devolved autonomy in the same way Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland does back home in the UK. The Catalonians wanted total independence and declared so after a vote in their parliament. However, the international community did not recognise it as a separate nation, and it is still a contentious issue to this day. This region of Catalonia has 3 separate languages: Catalan, Spanish and Occitan. Catalonia is the most prosperous region of southern Europe. Its most famous living celebrity is the Premiership football manager Pep Guardiola. So that's a very brief background on Spanish history. So without further ado, let's go and hop on a bus and we'll go and discover what Tarragona has to offer. And I can tell you now, you will not be disappointed. I'll see you over there. Hello, well, we're here in the centre of Tarragona, a 30-minute bus ride from La Pineda where we're staying, and we're shortly going to be walking into the ancient centre of the town, and in its early history it was called Tarraco. There are many Roman ruins in this region scattered all over Catalonia. It's quite ironic and yet quite poignant that I've just finished flying over the Roman wall, and then here I am on holiday some 1,260 miles south of Hadrian's Wall, and talking about the Romans again, but there you go. Anyway, the local tourist board have set out a Roman trail throughout Catalonia, but you need a car for that. It's not possible to do it by public transport. So all I'm going to do is walk around the ancient town in the next couple of days. I'd originally planned to do it in 2 days, but the heat here is phenomenal, so I'm going to do this in small pieces, maybe half days, and just see how I go. You need to be sensible in this sort of heat. Anyway, I've listed 10 locations, which are, I mean, there are many more, but I've listed the 10 that interest me. And as I said, we'll over the next few days we'll get to see all of them. The first stop is the Roman Theatre of Tarraco. So let's get going and we'll find where it is and get these discovery days underway. See you shortly. So here we are at the theatre after a short walk from the bus station in the centre. And the theatre here, it's all fenced off. You can't actually walk over the ruins. But they have sort of provided this slot. If I just spin the camera around, there's a slot here where you can get your camera in and see what's there. But basically the theatre was built around 10 BC during the reign of Emperor Augustus. And the sort of events that took place here were plays, choral events and orations, because in those days, of course, there was no news, no mobile phones, no social media. So the only way that you would be told about an event or a great battle or a great conquest of the Roman Empire was through oration. And so that was one of the things that was here. Now what they've done is, as you can see from this particular clip, they've sort of built a metal reconstruction of where the seating area would have been. Roman theatres were all built to the same design, and theatres were built on a semicircle, and that was because of to provide good acoustics, because of course they didn't have amplifiers, so whoever it was that was talking, playing, singing or whatever, their voice had to project to the whole audience. And the Romans are very clever people, and they worked out that a semicircle was the best way to give that good audio. This section over to the side of the amphitheatre was a recent discovery, and it was found to be a nymphaeum. Though this was a Greek invention, if you like, and it was a shrine to nymphs or water goddesses, and Rome carried this on when they took over from the Greeks. Here it was a building, in this particular building, it was containing a fountain, plants, sculptures, and it was provided as a place of rest and recuperation, a place to chill. Well, this is the Forum in Tarragona, or the Tarraco Colony Forum, as it's known in Spain. The Forum was built around 30 BC, and it was the religious and social hub of the city. It's only a short distance from the theatre that we've just been, literally a couple of streets away. But as you'll see in a minute when I take you around, it comprised of a town square surrounded by public buildings. The town square extended into the Cirque Romana, which is just a little bit further down. There was a courthouse here, a basilica, a temple, shops and a reservoir. South of the main road are the streets and houses, and that's the bit I'm going to show you in a moment. But let's have a look around the square itself and see what there is to see. This is a bust of the guy who excavated the site, Juan Serra y Vilaro. He was the excavator of the forum. And this was the well, or the cisterna, as it's known in Tarragona. So the forum site is split into two. There's a main road going right through the middle and a footbridge to take you over into the east section of the forum. According to the information board over there, they're unsure as to what this building was used for, but quite clearly there are three storage areas, and they're lined with looks like granite to me. It may look on camera like lead, but it isn't. It's something like granite or non-porous. So my guess is something to be kept cool, maybe. So maybe ice was packed in here. I don't think it would have been anything liquid, because although the granite is non-porous, it wouldn't have necessarily held liquids. So my guess is some type of cold storage. And you can see unmistakably this was a Roman street in typical fashion, very similar to what you see at Pompeii. And there would have been houses either side of this busy street. These are the foundations of a temple that was built here. It says on the information board that it was restored in the 1st century AD, and then it stood until the mid 19th century, when the modern port of Tarragona was built, and obviously at that point it was knocked down. And this is an indoor market by the looks. Not something I'd planned to go and have a look at, but we'll have a nosy poke, see what's inside. Well, that was something different. Fruit and veg looked 10 times better than what we get in the UK. And then I guess it's Spain. And before we left the EU, of course, we had the benefit of that quality. Not sure where we get our fruit and veg from these days, but there you go, a little extra for you. So this monument is to commemorate the people who defended the city of Tarragona in the 1811 war with France. The monument was put up in 1909 by the Tarragona City Council to commemorate that heroic defence. And this is one of the main streets down the centre of Tarragona, and as you can see, lots of stalls, people selling bric-a-brac and what the like. Very jolly, a very pleasant town, I must say, or city, because it's a city, it's a port, very big port at that. But lots going on here, and very pleasant. All the streets are quite nice, mixture of modern and ancient buildings. Over there, for example, you see looks like a bank, and then right next to it is Santander. But and this that we're coming up to is the main fountain. This main street crossing the modern city of Tarragona is called Rambla Nova, and this fountain was installed by the city council to mark the centenary, the 100 years of this street being built. So that's what it is. It's the Font del Centenario. A castle in Catalonian literally translates into English as a castle, or more accurately, a human tower. These feats of daring started in Catalonian festivals more than 200 years ago in the city of Valls near Tarragona. The castell is complete when the enzanita, or the top climber, reaches the top and raises his right hand. He then has to dismount down the other side, followed by the rest of the performers. The group at the base are called the piña and form a safety net should anyone fall, but also to support the performers at the base, holding all the weight of the people above. The sculpture was created by Catalan artist Francesc Anglès y Garcia and erected in 1999. It comprises of 222 life-size figures. In the main tower are the famous Catalan people from its history, i.e. Pablo Picasso and Juan Miró. They are artists, of course. Antoni Gaudí, an architect, and Pau Casals, a cellist, and Juan Antonio Samaranch, former president of the Olympic Committee. Okay, well, I've decided to call a halt for today, so we'll continue this tomorrow. It's about 34 degrees, and as I said at the beginning, I want to be sensible about this. It's not England, and you've got to be aware of the temperature and my age, of course. So I'm going to end it there. Have a good night's sleep, and I'll be back here tomorrow to continue the second half. So until I see you again, goodbye for now. Or in Spanish, adios. Good morning and welcome to the second part of this first Discovery Day here in Tarragona. And this morning we are at the Muralla Romana di Tarragona, which is basically the Spanish muralla is a defensive wall and battlement. It was built by the Romans in the 3rd century BC when they first landed here, and then when the Roman city of Tarragona was formed in the 2nd century BC, the walls were extended to surround the city. These are the oldest Roman walls still in existence outside of Italy. After the Islamic invasion of the 700s, Tarragona was depopulated and the walls fell into disrepair. During the 12th century AD, of course, the walls were rebuilt and then added to during the 16th and 17th century. Today, about 1 kilometre of the walls still exist. And today they are publicly owned and a designated World Heritage Site. So the museum is open and we'll go in and see what we can discover. Statue there to Caesar Augustus, the Caesar responsible for most of what happened here in the city of Tarragona. This is the Roman doorway, the original Roman doorway into the walls. And this is called the Capitoline wolf, with 2 infants suckling at its teats, so part of Roman mythology, if you like. The tower you can see here was part of the original walls built in 200 BC. Phenomenal that it's still standing today. big tree, and this is a bougainvillea. So the bit you can see at the bottom is the original part of the wall when the city of Tarragona was first surrounded by a wall, and then you can see the bit above where the cut stone was added in 2 BC, and if you can see right at the top, those are cemented together, whereas the other stones are literally just knitted together. If you look at the diagram on the board here, it shows you how the wall was constructed, not dissimilar to Hadrian's wall, but 12 meters high and 6 meters thick, so quite an invincible wall really. So having just come through the arch, we are now in the ancient city inside the city walls. So I'm now going up the hill to see if I can see the cathedral that I spotted. I don't know whether you can see the height of those walls, but 12 meters they are. They look higher than that to me. So this is what I could see from the other side of the wall, and if I've got my translation right, I think this is the Archbishop's Palace. And this is, well, the sign on the end said it's the History Museum of Tarragona, so, but it seems to be closed, so I don't know whether that's just Saturday or not, or whether it's part of the Archbishop's Palace, because of course the main basilica cathedral of Tarragona is literally just in the next street. And here is the cathedral, but that will be featuring in day 2 of the Discovery Days. All of the buildings inside the city walls are extremely old. This was another one, and according to the sign, if I've read it right, was the city hospital at one point. I apologise if I've got any of that information wrong. As I say, I don't speak Spanish, but from what I can gather, it said Antique de Hospitals, so that's my translation of it anyway. Oh, by the way, I would just wait for the chimes to finish. So 11 chimes, that's 11 o'clock in my book. Anyway, what I was about to tell you was that this square here is where the Castellas, if you remember the people that build themselves into a tower, This is where they actually perform it outside the basilica. Well, the building behind me, the Casa Castellano, was the last of the places I wanted to show you today. However, it's closed for restoration, so we can't go in. So that means that this concludes our first discovery day in the ancient city of Tarragona. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you all again extremely soon with the second day, and I hope to see you all again then. Bye for now.